Welcome to Tech Tips. I'm Len Groom. Today, we're looking inside the AMSOIL Mechanical Lab. Chris Orr, the lab manager, is going to show us around.
We opened the AMSOIL Mechanical Lab, otherwise known as the AML or dyno, back in April of 2013. It consists of 3 dyno cells, 24 by 20 each, with water systems, air systems, and fuel systems to support whatever type of testing that we want to do in the dyno cells. We test everything from passenger car engines to power sports equipment to lawn and garden equipment here. The main purpose of the AML is to validate technologies for product development and for comparative analysis in the market of AMSOIL products and make sure that AMSOIL is producing the best products possible. In cell 1 we have a Superflow 902S water brake, a Land & Sea 7-inch dyno set up to a custom chainsaw installation, and we have 3 air compressors. In cell 2 we have a Midwest 1014 eddy current dyno. It controls from 2 to 6,000 RPM up to 175 horsepower. We use that for passenger car motor oil development. We also have small engine testing. Cell 3 we have a Superflow Cyclodyne eddy current dyno, and we're gearing up at this point to expand that dyno to a double roll installation. Engines are very sensitive to the combustion air that they get in terms of repeatable power production. So we have a Munters combustion air unit that provides 3,000 CFM of humidity and temperature controlled air directly to the engines. We do a lot of steady state dyno testing versus performance facilities that might do a very short-term test. So therefore we need a lot of cooling capacity, we need a lot of water capacity. So we do have a 4,000 gallon water system that supplies cooling water and brake water to our test cells, as well as a 60-ton evaporative chiller that is roof mounted, so that regardless of the amount of horsepower or whatever degree of steady state testing we're doing, we can maintain the temperature of our supply water at all times. All of our fuel, air, and water systems are PLC controlled. It's basically a computer interface. It can monitor certain conditions, whether it be a temperature, whether it be a pressure, and it can respond automatically in the absence of human intervention. In our test design, if it's desired, we can ramp up the severity of our test and heat, load, and length of time that test is conducted for to separate high-quality oils. One oil might sputter, cough, and choke and just fall its way across 100 hours, where another oil might breeze past 100 hours without breaking a sweat. Most high-quality oils are going to do okay in normal operating conditions. So if you want to differentiate that, and you want to see what oil is going to be better in severe conditions, you have to design things like that yourself. How do you determine what's great? And that's what we want to do here. In addition to the test facilities, we have a very large work area. Everything off test moves to the shop area, is disassembled, is laid out prior to photography for inspection. Building our own facility allows AMSOIL to make decisions quickly and design testing to help differentiate high quality oils, which is something that really isn't available outside of developing your own testing.
Well, as you can see, the Mechanical Lab is a very unique facility. This is the facility that allows us to do the testing that gets our products to that next level. Other companies just can't do this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hi, I'm Len Groom. Welcome to Tech Tips. Today we're talking about dirt bike oils. Now, dirt bike oils need to do several things. They need to provide wear protection for the engine, gear protection for the transmission, and they also need to do something that isn't maybe talked about a whole lot in the industry, and that's provide good clutch feel. Now, we've worked with our professional riders and we've developed a feature that has given them a distinct advantage. So let's take a look at all the work that went into developing this feature in AMSOIL dirt bike oils. Clutch feel is important. It's critical when you're starting from a dead stop, when you're negotiating an obstacle, or when you're performing on the racetrack. In order to talk about clutch feel, we have to describe the situation. So let's say we're going to do a gate start. What needs to happen is the rider will hold the clutch in, apply some throttle, and then you're going to let the clutch out just until the bike wants to move, and you're going to hold. At that point, you wait for the gate to drop. When it does, you're going to give it as much throttle as you can, and you're going to feed in as much clutch as you can as quickly as you can. So what you'll see is the lever starts to slowly come out because the bike needs to go from a dead stop to moving. You just want to do that very quickly. So what you'll see here is the clutch comes out very slow when the gate drops. Then you're going to see him quickly shift into the next gear, and then you'll see him very quickly shift into the next gear. At AMSOIL, we recognized this was so important that we developed a special test called the Extreme Start Test to simulate these racing starts. So once we got the bikes on the dyno, we did start after start after start, and we ran the bike through the gears. Generally, we did second gear starts. We ran all the way to fourth gear. That allowed us to test the clutch feel, but at the same time, we were testing the durability of the product in the transmission and the engine. So not only were we able to provide rock-solid wear protection for the engine and gear protection for the transmission, we were also able to provide a very consistent, a very confidence-inspiring, a very repeatable clutch action that will continue to work time and time again. So if those are your requirements, AMSOIL Dirt Bike Oil's got you covered. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Welcome to Tech Tips. Today we're changing the front differential fluid on this UTV. To change the front differential fluid, you need to start with the right tools. And in this case, we need a 17mm socket, a 10mm socket, an extension, a ratchet, a drain pan is always important, and a rag to clean up any messes. This process will apply to most UTVs. These tools are specific to this Honda. Step one is locate the fill plug, clean any dirt that may be around it, and then loosen it. That's a tip because you don't want to drain it and then find that the fill plug won't come loose. The next step will be to drain the oil out of the differential. So locate your drain plug, which is on the bottom of the machine. There should be a hole in the skid plate. Get your socket on there. Loosen the drain plug. Try not to drop it in the drain pan. While the fluid is draining out, it's a good idea to inspect the drain plug for any damage and check the washer or O-ring for any dings or damage. Make sure it's clean before reusing it. Once the fluid is done draining, you can go ahead and reinstall the drain plug. So now we're back up top. We're going to remove the fill plug that we've already loosened. So you can just reach in there, finish loosening it with your hand, and you can pull it out. Now we need to refill. These are your three traditional methods for refilling this differential: the funnel, the pump, or your traditional gear lube bottle. All of them usually result in a mess. So we're not going to use any of those methods. Today we're going to use AMSOIL's Easy Pack. This takes all of the problems away. It's flexible, it fits right in that fill hole. Apply the product, no mess, no problems. Let's see how it works. So you're going to go ahead and fill the front differential. Get the Easy Pack right in the hole. Squeeze. This machine holds about 12 ounces of oil, or when the oil starts to come out the fill plug, that means you're done. So you just want to make sure that your fill plug is clean, make sure there's no dirt in there, check the O-ring, and you're ready to reinstall. As you're tightening the plug, remember it only needs to be snug, do not over tighten. Well, there you have it. A few simple steps to changing the differential fluid on your UTV using the AMSOIL Easy Pack. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Welcome to Tech Tips. I'm Len Groom, Technical Product Manager for Power Sports. A lot of people ask me, what do I need to do to put my lawnmower in storage? Well, here's a few tips that will help to ensure that your lawnmower will start up when you get it out of the shed in the spring. The first, and probably the most important thing to do, would be to change the oil. Contaminants can build up from combustion, from use, from dust and dirt in the environment, and they can end up in the oil. So it's always good to put the mower in storage with fresh oil in it. Changing the oil isn't that tough. Here's how you do it. The first thing you need to do is drain the oil out. So you want to locate the plug, which is underneath, remove it, and drain the oil into a pan. You want to add the appropriate amount of oil until the dipstick registers full. I recommend AMSOIL's Formula 4 stroke small engine oil in 10W30 for this application. Next, you want to treat the fuel. No matter what type of fuel you're using, you always want to treat it. AMSOIL has two different options. The first one, would be AMSOIL's gasoline stabilizer. This one is designed for long-term storage. This will help fight all forms of fuel deterioration, from corrosion to varnish to any type of buildup. This is for long-term. The second option would be AMSOIL's Quick Shot. This is designed to be used over the course of the summer. This will also help fight corrosion. It'll help fight any type of deterioration, but this product also helps with any of the issues that are associated with ethanol. So one way or the other, make sure you're treating your fuel. Next, let's take a look at the air filter. It's often overlooked. It's usually pretty easy to get to, so you want to take the cover off, inspect it, clean it if you can, but if it's too dirty, replace it. So there you have it, just a few simple things that you can do to ensure that your mower comes out of storage ready to run. One thing we should note, if you ever have a question on quantity or any of these procedures, the first thing you should do is consult your owner's manual. One last thing, some of these new lawnmowers, specifically the push mowers, don't have a drain plug. So you need to look in your owner's manual for the procedure. Most of the time, it's going to want you to drain the oil out through the filler neck. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Today, we're talking about mix ratios. And as you can see, I've got a whole pile of different equipment here on the table. And that means, in certain situations, each one of these pieces of equipment could require a different mix ratio. Now, when we talk about mix ratios, that means the amount of oil that we're putting in with a certain amount of gas. We add the oil to the gas, that provides the lubrication for the engine. And in most situations, people think more is better. Well, more isn't necessarily better all the time. But what I'm here to talk about today is AMSOIL's ability to provide you with one mix ratio for all of your equipment. So whether it's something old, like this generator over here, that takes a 20-to-1, or something newer, like this weed whacker that's 50-to-1, we can set you up with one mix ratio, no problems. And the way that's possible is proper formulation and high quality product. There's a couple things going on when you start looking at mix ratios in owner's manuals. If we're talking about an older piece of equipment, maybe the mix ratio was 20-to-1. There's something else going on there. You have to look at the age of the equipment. The technology wasn't available. The oil technology wasn't in a place where we could take away some oil, so they had to put a whole pile of oil in to get the engine to survive. Well, now oil technology has come around. And at AMSOIL, we do more with less. What that means is we've spent a pile of time testing so that we can put in less oil and still provide the same amount of lubrication. The bonus there is you have less smoke, you spend less money on oil, and it's convenient. You've got one can and not 4 cans. That's a convenience factor. We figure that in. Now for reference, when we talk about mix ratios, we're talking about different amounts of oil and different amounts of gasoline. So let's stick to 1 gallon of gas for reference today. Now, AMSOIL Sabre Professional is capable of providing protection all the way down to 100-to-1. Now what is 100-to-1? This is an example of 100-to-1. 1.3 ounces of oil for 1 gallon of gasoline. That's all you need. That'll provide protection in the weed whacker, in the leaf blower, the chainsaw, the generator, no matter what age or year. AMSOIL passes all of the industry tests at half the recommended amount of oil. If the industry test is run at 50-to-1, we pass at 100-to-1. So we can claim a rating that everyone else has to use 50-to-1, we can claim that same rating at 100-to-1. We also understand that some people are not comfortable putting that very small amount of oil in their can. And for that reason, we've also tested Sabre Professional at all the other mix ratios. So can you use Sabre at 50-to-1? Yes. Can you use Sabre at 32-to-1? Yes. The point is that you can use Sabre Professional to standardize your mix ratio wherever you're comfortable. 100 to 1 is obviously our primary recommendation, and that's what I mix all my equipment. But if you're not comfortable, whatever you settle on, Sabre Professional has you covered. For more information on how AMSOIL can help you out with your handheld needs, check out AMSOIL.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hi, I'm Len Groom. Welcome to Tech Tips. Today we're talking about changing the chain case oil on your snowmobile. This is something that I recommend you do yearly because the oil can get used up and a chain and gears does make metal. I also recommend that you do this at the end of the season. That way when you get your sled out in the fall, it's ready to go. Here's a few steps on how to get that done. The first thing you need to do is locate the drain plug so that you can drain the old oil out. Remove the drain plug and take a look at the old oil as it comes out of the snowmobile. In this case, you can see that it's silver. Silver means that the chain and gears has made some metal and the oil is used. Replace the drain plug. Make sure that you get it tight. Make sure that the gasket is good. At this point, we need to put the new product into the chain case. So remove your fill plug. The location of the fill plug can vary from snowmobile to snowmobile. On this model, it's located right in the footwell. It's a good idea to put a rag down. Then we're going to go ahead and fill the chain case. Now with this sled, we know it's full when the product starts to run out of the fill hole. That indicates that we've reached the max level. We can go ahead and replace the fill plug, wipe down the area, tighten it up. On some snowmobiles, there will be a designated amount of oil that you're going to add to the chain case. I recommend that you check your owner's manuals for proper quantity. There's a classic example of why you want to change that chain case fluid on a yearly basis. If you noticed when it was draining out of the snowmobile, it had that silver tint to it. That indicates that there's some metal in there. That's perfectly normal. A chain and gears is going to make some metal. What you don't want is you don't want to leave it in there year after year and that metal starts to snowball and you can see wear start to occur. It can lead to a costly repair. So we recommend that you change that on a yearly basis. And when you change it, I recommend that you use the AMSOIL chain case and gear oil. There you have it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hi, I'm Len Groom. Welcome to Tech Tips. One of the easiest things that you can do to ensure that your snowmobile is performing at its peak level would be to make sure that your belt deflection is proper. Here's how you do that. The first thing you want to do is check your existing belt deflection. Put the straight edge between the clutches, and in about the center, you want to pull down on your belt, and the proper adjustment for this belt is 1.25 inches of space between your straight edge and your belt. When we check the actual belt deflection on this belt, you can see we're about 1.5 inches, so we need to adjust it. That means that this belt is too loose and that could affect the performance of your snowmobile. So to adjust the belt, you need to loosen the jam nut on your secondary clutch. Use your Allen wrench. Turn the adjuster counterclockwise, which will bring the sheaves together. You want to grab the belt and roll it through the primary and through the secondary. You can see the belt rises in the secondary sheaves and that will cause it to be tighter. We're going to take a second measurement, same process, pull down on the belt. You can see that we're about 5/8 of an inch, which means we've gone too far. We need to make another adjustment. To make that adjustment, we're going to turn our adjustment screw in the opposite direction. That means we're going to go clockwise. That means we're going to push the sheaves apart. And as you're doing that, you'll see the belt drop in the sheaves. This indicates that we are loosening the belt. The lower it rides, the looser the belt will be. We go ahead and make our adjustment. We're going to check it again, and you can see that we're very close. Might be just a little bit too tight. We want to make one more small adjustment. We check it for the last time. We find that we are at 1.25 inches, which is spec for this snowmobile. Belt deflection on this sled is good. Once you're finished, you need to tighten your jam nut, but what's very important is that you insert the Allen wrench first to hold your adjustment and then tighten the jam nut. If you just tighten the jam nut, you're going to turn the adjuster at the same time and you'll throw your deflection off. There you have it. Just a few simple steps. Make sure that belt deflection is correct and your sled will perform at the top of its game. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Welcome to Tech Tips. I'm Len Groom. Today we're talking about automatic transmissions. Automatic transmissions are somewhat of a mystery to most people. You put the car in drive and it goes forward. You put the car in reverse, it goes backwards. But what goes on inside that transmission to make that happen? We went out and talked to an industry expert to get maybe the inside view, if you will, on the inner workings of the automatic transmission. Let's listen to what he had to say.
This is a torque converter out of an automatic transmission. This torque converter works as a coupling device. Therefore, there's propellers and there's fins and there's sprags and clutches inside of it. What this does is it bolts to your engine and this transfers your power to your transmission, thus drives your wheels. This is the lower side of your automatic transmission. This is a transmission pan where all your fluid is held. You can see the solenoids, shift valves. This thing is submerged in oil its whole life. Let me show you how complicated it is. Fluid has to run through all these passages at certain times to shift valves, to make your car shift. There you can see how crucial it is to keep a good clean fluid in here so you don't gum up the valves and have transmission problems. You move this aside. These are all the parts that come out of an automatic transmission. The clutch drums, the planetaries, the pump, sprags. These are all the rotating parts of an automatic transmission. This is a clutch drum full of clutches. The clutches look like this, friction in a steel. And what happens is ATF fluid applies pressure to the pistons, which applies pressure to the clutches, which allows your car to make the shift. Let me pull these clutches out of here. Steels. Let's take a little closer look. As you can see in the clutch drum, with the clutches removed, you can see from like lack of maintenance, the fluid breaking down. You can see the wear we're getting. There you can see it's crucial to keep your transmission fluid clean. This is a clutch drum and a band out of the transmission. You've heard of people talking about their band slipping. This is what they're talking about. This is the band, which wraps around this drum. And as you can see, the drum is starting to slip. Therefore, once it slips, it'll create more heat, break the fluid down, and eventually you are replacing all these parts. I do have some transmission fluid out of this transmission. This transmission fluid is completely broken down and it looks like tar. This transmission fluid has been overheated and has been in this transmission way too long. And this is what caused this transmission to fail. Here's an example of what your automatic transmission fluid should look like. It's a bright red and it has no contaminants. And that's what should be running through your transmission. This is basically how the automatic transmission works, or in this case, how it failed. The number one cause of the automatic transmission failure is not servicing your transmission fluids.
Well, as you can see, there's a lot going on inside that transmission. But there are a couple of really important things to remember. Number one is that heat can kill an automatic transmission. The other thing is, don't leave the fluid in there too long. So you want a fluid that has an ability to last and also to be able to take some heat. AMSOIL's automatic transmission fluid is up to that task. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Welcome to Tech Tips. I'm Len Groom. Today we're changing the transmission fluid on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Let's check in with our trade show manager and in-house motorcycle enthusiast, Patricia Stoll, on how to do that.
It's relatively easy to change the transmission fluid on a Harley-Davidson Softail. This is a 2014 Fat Boy Low with a 103 cubic inch engine. You'll need a few tools to do this project. You want a drain pan, a new O-ring for your drain plug, a 5/8 inch socket with a socket wrench, of course your torque wrench, a 3-inch extension, and a 5/8 inch ball end Allen wrench, a funnel, and of course your AMSOIL V-twin transmission fluid. First, you need to locate your transmission drain plug, and it can be a bit tricky. First, locate your two shock absorbers. It's located in between the shock absorbers, underneath the transmission. Now that you've located your transmission drain plug, take your ratchet and your 3-inch extension and your 5/8" socket and remove it. So once it gets loose enough, I like to finish removing the drain plug by hand. I do this so the drain plug doesn't fall into the oil. So while the transmission fluid was draining, I took advantage of that time to clean my drain plug. Make sure you remove all the debris and check it for any damage. Now take your new O-ring and slide it onto your transmission plug and make sure you run it all the way to the bottom, like that. So once you have your new O-ring on your transmission plug, take your 5/8" socket and your 3-inch extension and reinstall your drain plug. When replacing the transmission plug, I like to snug mine up by hand. You'll want your torque wrench set at 14 to 21 foot-pounds of torque. I have mine set at 16. Okay, that should be good. So now that we've replaced our transmission plug, we're going to fill our transmission. I like using AMSOIL synthetic V-twin transmission fluid. Make sure you check your owner's manual so you know how much fluid is required for your bike. So next you'll take your 5/8" ball end Allen wrench and remove your transmission cover and dipstick. This one's a little tricky. So now we're going to fill our transmission with fluid. Remember, you're going to need a long neck funnel and your transmission fluid. This Harley-Davidson Softail requires 28 ounces of fluid. And as you know, there's 32 ounces in a quart. So when you get done filling it, you're going to have 4 ounces left over. And be very careful. It's very important not to overfill your transmission. So remember to stop and check your sight gauge. I've got about 14 ounces, so I've got a ways to go yet. Okay, make sure your bottle's level. I'm at 8 ounces. I still have 4 more ounces to go. Okay, check it. That's right at about 4 ounces left. So now with this bike, it's recommended that you check your transmission fluid when it's on the kickstand. So I'm going to take it off the mechanic stand, back it off, and do that. It's kind of hard to see because the fluid is so clear, but our fluid levels are right where they need to be, so we're good to go. Well, there you have it. We're done. As you can see, it's not that difficult to change the transmission fluid on a Harley-Davidson Softail.
There you have it. Remember, for your specific capacity, check your owner's manual or check out our lookup guide at AMSOIL.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.